Good morning, the people in the world. Good afternoon, those in Asia. And good morning, those in Europe. Good evening, those in Australia. Good afternoon, the people in North America, Canada, USA. And good evening, those in Sudan. I don't know what is the time there. So I'm not wrong. Grammatically, I'm correct. If I greet people with different, time zone, don't blame me. Because the world is round, it's globe. The globe is round, so you cannot control the time. The time in Sudan, the time in China and Australia, it's not the same. So if I say good morning, good evening, please you accept me. Because I'm greeting the children of Adam all over the world with their different time zones. So today is actually October 26, 2024. This is Reverend Karlo Kolong again coming to preach the gospel, to sing two songs, one in Arabic. At the end, I will sing one in English. So please, welcome to my TikTok, Karlonic Show. And please you subscribe to me so that you can understand me well. مثال كان يا سودانيين في الكل دولتين ديل كله السودان وجنوب السودان. ده أنا مباشر كارلو كولوم الجاب فكرة بتاع السلام الشامل في 2005. أنا لسه بباشر الدولتين ديل لأن الدولتين ديل لسه كنا قدم ولسه ما في راح مدارس ما شغالين مية ما في بنوك في شمال السودان بقى كله قبل ليه؟ لأن نانو كسرنا وسائل العشرة كسرنا كتاب المقدس يو كتاب المقدس كسر كمان عن استيسات بتاعنا كسر كمان بنوك بتاعنا مدارس كله ما شغالين لأن خطية بكسروا بلد فأنا ليلة مجنا هني اتنين هنا واحد ببداية بالعربي بعدين نمرة اتنين بكون بإنجليزي بعد ما أنا بشرته كلمة الله في النص بعد زمن الليلة يوم 26 شهر 10 سنة 2024 أنا قاعد نغني أو قاعد نبشر وين في دنفر كولورادو أنا سوداني زيكم وأنا مبشر بتاعكم خليكم تعملوا سبسكرايب لأنا هنا بالتيك توك ده عشان تقدر تديني فكرة أو تديني قوة عشان نسافر مناطق كتير كان في شمال السودان جنوب السودان عشان نجيب لكم إنجيل لأن الناس بتموتوا ليه؟ بيموتوا بدري شباب ليه؟ لأن نحن ما عندنا الكتاب المقدس في مخنا وفي قلوبنا. فكده نديكم هنا بتاع جونا. جونا كان أبا يمشي بشر لناس نينوى. هو كان أبا يمشي بشر لناس نينوى. يا ربنا أكو من جونا رسول سماغا تنابلا جونا. يا جونا نوم في سجن بطن السماغا 3 يوم. هو يتعرف بطن السماغا ذاته. عشان كده عشان هو يتعرف يا ربنا عافيه بقى طوالي من هناك ماشي بشر لنينوى ممرية من الميديترينيان سي لنينوى اللي هو العراق الليلة إنه ما عارفين هو سافر كيف كم يوم بسكة لكن قوة ربنا دايما بيفوتوا بتاع إنسان يمكن هو طار يمكن هو طير طوالي من الميديترينيان سي لنينوى أو ماشي بشر هناك لما تشوف بتاع هناك فيليب وكنت ماشي أنا سوداني اسمه إثيوبيان يونا دونغلاوي كتكلم صلوات في يروشلم ورجع للسودان أو كوش ملك الكوش وما أعرف سيد يسوع نبأه في إسحاق 53 ده جاء ولا ما جاء يا رول قدس كلم لفيليب أجري مش على السوداني ده مش بشر له قول له يسوع اللي تقرأ في إسحاق هنا 53 Isaiah chapter 53 that the Sudanese was reading when he was going back to Sudan. The Ethiopian eunuch, he's a Sudanese from Dongola. He didn't know that Jesus was born because the Israelis did not tell him that Jesus was born. He already visited Jerusalem, but he was going back unknowingly, not knowing Jesus had already come down. So he was reading Isaiah 53 to know whether that person called Jesus will be born in his time. So the Spirit of God told Philip to jump and go and preach to him. He preached to him and then he believed. Then he went and opened the churches in Kush within the Sudan. That Ethiopian eunuch, Acts chapter 8, is a Sudanese man. Ethiopia is a Sudanese name for the Greek people. The Greeks say Ethiopia. The Arabs say Sudan. The Hebrews say Kushites. So these 3 names, all concerning the same Sudan. So therefore, not to go far, let me sing this song that Jonah refused to go and preach to the people of Nineveh. And God arrested him 3 days in the stomach of the fish. I don't know, in that prison whether there was toilet or a bathroom, we could not explain. God's miracle is so terrible. Imagine Jonah spent 3 days in the stomach of the fish. That was a prison. And therefore, I don't want to refuse preaching also. That's one of the reasons why you see me always preaching every day. I don't want God to send a fish to swallow me. If I refuse to preach to the Sudanese nations, God will send a fish to swallow me. And I don't want that to happen. So therefore, I have to continue preaching, whether I'm old or young, whatever. And I'm going to sing this song in, Shukuru Yesu.
Abela Jona, Ala Karuna.
Yona, Alua Bashoko Tarobuna, Robuna Sijinu, Botan the Samaga, Barima, Botan the Samaga, Jura Dana Tota Mam, Beka Kalas, Guminum, Uar Halapito. I said, Mother, I'm specially as Neneve. Neneve have a Lela in Iraq. Men and American Medina. Udo let's to Assyria, where our Lela is Muchuru, Iraq. So let me go into the message of today. This message is coming from 3 chapters. I will be touching them briefly, mostly about Paul, the apostle. When Paul wrote 13 letters plus Hebrew, he said, I fought a good fight. You see, you read this in the book of Timothy. I fought a good fight. So therefore, many theologians doubt the book of Hebrew. They say it was not Paul who wrote that book, but by a known person. How can the author of Hebrew be unknown up to today, 2,000 years? You're going to know that it is Paul who wrote that letter, the book of Hebrew. So 13 plus Hebrew is 14 letters. Paul wrote 14 letters. And that's why he said, I fought a good fight. You can get this one in the book of Hebrews chapter 13, verse 23, where Paul mentioned Timothy. Timothy was his student. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 23 talks about Timothy. Timothy is a student of Paul. How can Timothy appear in the book of Hebrew and the author of Hebrew is not known? So it is Paul who wrote the book of Hebrew. You read Hebrews 13, verse 23, where Paul mentioned Timothy. He is his student. There was no popular philosopher or a theologian who knows Timothy more than Paul. So it is Paul who wrote the book of Hebrew. He mentioned there in the final part, where he's sending final greetings, Hebrews 13, verse 23, he mentioned about Paul. You go and read. I read it. You go and read it also. So, again, Paul saw the mission of Macedonian men in Acts chapter 16. You see, in Acts chapter 16, verse 9, there, you will get Paul, including this man called Luke. So, the vision of Macedonian man in this part is actually Luke. It was Luke calling Paul to come to Europe, to Macedonia. Macedonia today is Greek. Today there is a nation called Macedonia. When, that's a part of the, Yugoslavia got fragmented. You see, Yugoslavia, or Serbia, that country got divided into 3. Serbia, Croatia, and Macedonia. So Macedonian man, in the vision of Paul, appears to be Luke himself, calling Paul to come to Europe and preach to them in Macedonia. You may doubt me. Why did Luke change the pronoun he and they to we? Why did Luke include it himself? The Hebrew people, or Paul himself, he was ashamed to introduce Luke officially. So they just moved with him. After Luke joined them, they just moved with him and he began to say, oh, Luke. Paul himself began to talk about Luke. But he did not tell us, when did you meet Luke? When did you meet him? This is the man of Macedonia that Paul saw in a vision. He changed the pronoun he and she to they, to we. So Luke included himself by saying we. You read there. You read, the book of Acts chapter 16, verse 9 to 10. Luke changed the pronoun he and she, he and they. Because before Luke appeared, he was using they and he. Because he was reporting what happened before he appeared with these people. He was using the word he or they. But when he joined them, he changed the pronoun he and they to we. Luke included himself. There was no introduction to introduce Luke. The Jewish, Paul was fearing maybe shame. He doesn't want a Gentile to be introduced officially. So Luke got included. And that is the vision Paul saw Macedonian man. Yes, I know you are doubting me. But why did Luke change the pronoun he and they to we? How can somebody be moving with us and we don't know him? So Paul knows Luke was moving with him. He even quoted about Luke. But he did not introduce him officially. So this is the vision of Macedonian man, Luke himself. You may doubt me. The other one is actually found in the book of 1 Corinthians, where Paul reported, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, where he reported the 23,000 dead. Corinthians chapter 9, verse 8, somewhere there. So he said 23,000 dead. He was quoting Numbers chapter 25, verse 9. That says 24,000 people died. So Paul quoted only 23,000. He was quoting the Old Testament. So these three, the book of Hebrew and the Macedonian man and the 23,000, all accredited to Paul. Especially 2 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 10 verse 9 actually to that 10, where he quoted the Old Testament Numbers the book of Numbers chapter 25 verse 9. It says 24,000 died. It was immoral people, by the way. It was actually homosexual, whatever, all those things. The people got punished because they were also conducting same-sex marriage in that book of Numbers chapter 25 verse 9. So Paul was trying to quote, telling his people of his time not to do the same. Today I'm telling you not to do the same, not to commit such terrible sins, same-sex marriage. That was what Paul was quoting, but he missed only 1,000. So I call that one philosophical error. It's not a spiritual error. Philosophical error is if I say 3 plus 4 is equal to 10. That's philosophical error. This will not block my going to heaven. So the 23,000 Paul quoted will not block his way to heaven. He's in heaven right now. So I call such things philosophical error. Yeah. It's about Numbers chapter 25 verse 9. It says there 24,000, but Paul said 23,000. So he missed only 1,000. That's called what? Mathematical error, or you can call it philosophical error. This cannot block his way to heaven. The spiritual error is if you say Jesus did not die for my sins. Jesus did not resurrect. Jesus cannot forgive people. Those are spiritual errors. That will block you if you don't believe in those. So you see, but philosophical error has nothing to do with your relationship with God. You see, if I say, 5 plus 8 is equal to 25, that's just mathematical error. Will it block my way to heaven? No. So therefore, let us be curious. Do you think if you become a Christian, you cannot make a mistake? You do. Paul became a Christian. But because of human mind, he didn't check, the Old Testament properly in that part. The same thing, sometimes you make a mistake as a theologian. But you go back to the Bible and be corrected. So, when Abraham said, this is my sister, about Sarah, did that one block his going to heaven? Do you think Abraham did not go to heaven because of making such mistakes? When he said, Sarah is my sister. This is called philosophical error. It's forgivable. So even the number Paul quoted, 23,000, is forgivable. He might have confessed already and he's in heaven. Even if he did not confess, that's not a spiritual error. Spiritual error when you say Jesus did not die for my sins. Jesus did not resurrect. Jesus is not the Son of God. Those are called spiritual errors. So those are the ones that can block your way to heaven. Otherwise, some philosophical errors are just normal. So in order to conclude, let me sing one song in addition to the one I sang in Arabic. Weary, will not let me fail. down. You will not let me fail. You will not let me fail. Jesus never weary. You will not let me down. Passing inside trials, Jesus is with me. Even inside enemies, Jesus is with me. You will not let me fail. You will not let me fail. You will not let me fail. Jesus never weary. You will not let me fail. You will not let me fail. You will not let me fail. Jesus never weary. You will not let me fail. Passing inside water, Jesus is with me. Even inside fire, Jesus is with me. You will not let me down. You will not let me down. You will not let me down. Jesus never weary. You will not let me down. You will not let me down. You will not let me down. Jesus never weary. You will not let me down. Passing inside trials, Jesus is with me. Even inside enemies, Jesus is with me. You will not let me fail. You will not let me fail. You will not let me fail. Jesus never weary. You will not let me fail. You will not let me fail. You will not let me fail. Jesus never weary. You will not let me fail. Passing inside water, Jesus is with me. Even inside fire, Jesus is with me. You will not let me down. You will not let me down. You will not let me down. Jesus never weary. You will not let me down. You will not let me fail. You will not let me fail. Jesus never weary. You will not let me fail. River boys, these are the Nilotic people, the people of the land of Cush, the land of the longest river in the world, which is called Gihon. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 13, Moses called it Gihon. So Nile River, that is the white Nile, is called Gihon in the Bible. Genesis chapter 2, verse 13. If you also talk about Pishon River, which passed through Havilah. Havilah, by the way, today it's called the Abyssinian Highlands. That's the Ethiopian Highlands. Ethiopia is a Greek word for Sudan. But Haile Selassie adopted the word in 1930 something. Because the word Ethiopia was floating in the Bible, no owner. The present Ethiopia was called Abyssinia, Abash, you see. So they just borrowed the word, the name Ethiopia, that's called paste. And now it's called Ethiopia. Otherwise, it was called Abyssinia, Abash, and Aksumite Empire. If you read, the Queen of Sheba is from Abyssinia, from Aksumite Empire. In the time of Queen of Sheba, the name, even Ethiopia was not there. You see? The name Ethiopia appeared in the year 320 BC, when Alexander the Great conquered North Africa and Middle East. So he changed the name Cush to Ethiopia, means burnt places. And he changed the name Maziru to Egypt. Egypt is a Greek name. And Ethiopia is a Greek name for Sudan, Cush, the Cushites. That's why some of you said, Ethiopians are also in India. They call it India is Ethiopia, Eastern Ethiopia, India, because they are dark like us, black like, they are Hamites, by the way, descendants of Ham. Because Africans are children of Ham, the Hamites. That's why you call it Nilo-Hamites, Kushatic, all those things. Those are the names of our grandparents. But the secular historian, they don't know the origin of these words. Ham or Kush, it is our grandparents. You read in Genesis chapter 10, verse 6, the sons of Ham, 4. That is Cush, Mazilum, Libya, and Put. Put is Libya, and Canaan. So Canaan remained in Asia, one of the 4 sons of Ham. The 3 came to Africa. The historians also say they came with their father Ham. Ham spent, Ham lived in the world for about 600 years. He was buried in the Sudan, in Africa. Ham, our grandfather, the son of Noah. He went with his 3 sons to Africa. So Ham is buried in Africa, the son of Noah. Because he was taken by his 3 sons, Cush, Mazrim, and Put. You see, they were saying actually Canaan was a bit very wild. He refused to go with his brothers to Africa. So he remained in Asia. Today, Canaan is the ones you call Palestinians. The one Noah actually cursed. That's why you see Palestine have no rest. Because that is the 4th son of Ham. When Ham saw the nakedness of his father, after his father drank maybe vodka or one of the alcohol of that time, he became drunk and could not cover himself. So Ham accidentally saw the nakedness of the father. He went and reported to his 2 brothers. That is Ham and Japheth. Japheth, by the way, is the grandfather of the Europeans, the white race. Japheth is the 3rd son of Noah. So the white people are actually the third son of Noah. So something people should know. And many people always say, is it true Adam was black man? Why not? If Adam was made from this black soil, and the soil is still black up to today. You see? So I don't mean I hate white or blue or brown people. No, we're all human beings. Yeah. Even others say Jesus was black. Yes, the Israelis spent 430 years in Africa. They intermarried with Africans. Abraham married an African, Hagar. Joseph married an African. You see? Moses married an African. So the Israelis spent 430 years in Africa. Why not become black? Some people even say they went up to Ghana. They're one of the 12 sons of Jacob. People say that is Dan, or what do you call Issachar. He went up to Ghana. And that's why there is what they call Ashanti Kingdom. So the children of Jacob, they went up to Ghana. Yes. If they spent 400 years in Africa, why not touch Ghana? Why not touch Angola? So the Israelis actually are part of Africa. They lived in Africa for 430 years. And the first slave masters in the world were the Africans, the Egyptians, black people. The Arab appeared in Africa in the year 700 AD when Muhammad, came with his false idea of saying the God of Quran. And Muhammad went to Egypt because their grandmother, the second wife of Abraham, is an African, Hagar. So Arabs are descendants of Hagar, the African lady. You see? So therefore, history must be exposed. The Bible is clear. Anyway, not to go far, I thank many people, the organizations like Mission One, Bob Sindelar and Olivia Mulerwa. I got a lot of reports from them. The report goes well. I hope we shall be now expanding the ministry. The kingdom of God has to be preached all over the world. As Jesus said in Matthew chapter 28, verse 18 to 20. Thank you, my fellow brothers in Africa. Thank you, my members, my fellow friends, sisters and brothers, or fathers and mothers within Mission One. This is Karlo Kolong greeting you. I hope one day we'll meet together. I'm here in the USA with you people, and we shall touch the whole world. So I'm also speaking like Paul. I fought a good fight. I've written 62 books to evangelize the whole world. I fought a good fight. I've written what God told me to write. So, Olivia, thank you very much. I'm getting a lot of your emails. May God bless you. The president of Mission One, and Bob Tindler. This is Karlo Kolong. Very soon we'll meet face to face. It's not like Paul who was saying Timothy, who was far away, we'll meet somewhere. I don't know whether Paul at the end met Timothy. They met sometimes, they scattered. They met sometimes, they scattered. So I don't know whether Paul died without seeing Timothy, his student. But I'm here with you. We will meet. Thank you. It's Reverend Karlo Kolong. Today is actually October 26, 2024, in the city of Denver, Colorado.